Hello everyone, this is Nishtha from Nish Online Interior Design, Paint Color Consultation and Home Decor Content Writing. Today I am back here with another color related video. I have already discussed about the east facing rooms and the best paint colors to go in your west facing rooms. Now I am going to be talking about the best paint colors for your south facing rooms. Well, south facing rooms may not be as difficult and tricky to deal with as compared to your east facing rooms and the west facing rooms, because we have already discussed the three different scenarios in each of those compass directions. Well, in your south facing rooms, you can expect a gleaming sunshine all day long. So, especially if you are able to locate that particular room in your home which is just overly heated all day long, not just in the mornings, not just in the evenings, but this specific room receives direct sunlight and it feels cozy throughout the day, it is well lit, quite bright, then it is definitely a south facing room. Well, choosing a paint color for your south facing room may be slightly easier because you know you have to deal with slightly cooler tone paint colors as to overly warm paint colors out there. So today in this video, I am going to talk about everything you need to know about choosing paint colors for your south facing rooms and my list of top 10 Sherwin Williams paint colors to go in your south facing rooms. Well, let's get started. In general, your south facing rooms receive sunlight or warmth almost throughout the day. So, sun is at its highest around 12:31, which is when you receive almost golden to yellow light in your south facing rooms. Meanwhile, early in the morning as well, you receive considerable passive warmth entering, especially around 11 a.m. or 10 to 10:30 a.m. Meanwhile, as the sun sets and shifts towards the western end, you will still notice a gleaming yellow sense of warmth coming in the later evening hours. So, somewhere around 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. it is not completely grayed out, but at the same time it receives some sort of a gleaming light in the later evening or later afternoon hours as well. So, what is it with the south facing rooms that make them super warm is the reason that they sort of face sun almost throughout the day. So, in your south facing rooms, somewhere around the afternoon hours, around noon time, you will see the room being very shiny, very bright. So, you have to choose paint colors that are not very neutral, but at the same time they must have some sense of depth to them so they can hold themselves pretty well with excessive natural lighting conditions as well. On the other hand, earlier in the morning hours, you can expect the color to go slightly muted, or later in the evening, the same color can appear overly golden or yellow. So, we definitely know that number one, you have to avoid very warm white paint colors or very warm paint colors that have a yellow, red or an orange undertone, because it can feel overly warm throughout the day and make your south facing room overly uncomfortable. Secondly, you can choose cooler tone paint colors that can be icy cool as well or can have a touch of warmth as well for the best results. In general, choosing cool tone whites with the blue, green, grey or purple undertones or even stark white paint colors would be definitely a yes. You must avoid off-white paint colors with a yellow or red undertone. Pastels such as peach, soft blue grey, green grey and light grey must definitely work. And you must avoid warm greens, warm greyish, beige or even khaki paint colors. So, now I would highly recommend that you actually sample the paint colors out there, especially if you finalize a paint color. Let's say you like a particular paint color for your south facing room. Well, do paint a section of your room in that paint color, observe it for hours and hours or even days and days at different times of the day and under different lighting conditions to see how that color can change in various lighting conditions. Well, the same color can appear quite muted in the morning hours and it can come off gleaming and glowy in the later evening hours. So, you have to be careful and must Samplize these paint colors at all times. Secondly, if you have a south facing room that receives ample incoming natural light. So, let us say you have a south facing room that has like 2 to 3 windows out there, there is ample warmth, ample sunlight coming inside, then one of the best ways to feel calm and tranquilized is by opting for cooler tone paint colors like green grays, blue greens and even violets to balance off with the warm incoming natural light. At the same time, let us say you have this overly large south facing room which has ample incoming natural light, there are tons of windows. You can even experiment with a darker tone paint color like a blue grey or a green grey or a charcoal grey paint color as an accent to absorb the immense natural light that is entering the space. So, definitely a yes for darker colors for south facing rooms that are larger and the south facing rooms that receive ample incoming natural light. On the other hand, if you have smaller south facing rooms that receive little natural light but at the same time there is considerable amount of warmth as well, then you can go with white paint colors that have a cooler base. Not stark icy cool paint colors as well, but in general white paint colors that do not have a yellow or a beige undertone can work equally well in your south facing room which are smaller in size and receive little incoming natural light. And lastly, don't forget to choose paint colors that have considerable depth and LRV, because let us face it, your south facing rooms have bright incoming light most of the times of the day and it can tend to wash off the undertones. So, if you do not want the color to appear like a true chameleon or if you do not want the color to wash off its undertones, choose a paint color that has some sort of depth to it already. So, now that I have discussed the various nitty-gritties, the do's and don'ts, the tips and tricks on choosing the best paint color for your south facing room, let us get started with my top 10 list of Sherwin Williams paint colors that go in your south facing room. And the first color on my list is Sherwin Williams Sea Salt. Well, Sherwin Williams Sea Salt is a beautiful, breezy, coastal-like green grey paint color which feels very neutral. Especially if you have a larger south-facing room or a south-facing room that has ample windows and ample incoming natural light, sea salt can truly balance off with the incoming warmth throughout the day. This is one of the best paint colors for the south-facing rooms, especially if you embrace a cool and calming vibe. With an LRV of 63, this color can make your south-facing room appear larger and brighter. Sherwin Williams Sea Salt can look slightly muted in the early morning hours. On the other hand, as the sun is at its peak in the afternoon and later hours, expect the grey undertones to get washed off. Yes, this color will quite likely change with the movement of the sun. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Sea Salt color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. So, you can find these pre-packaged color palettes on my website Digital Products as well as my Etsy shop, and I have added the links to both of them in the description box below. Now, the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Repose Grey. Now, Sherwin Williams Repose Grey is a great paint color, or I must say it's a warm grey paint color which has more cool than warm to it. So, definitely grey is a blend of grey and beige, and Repose Grey has more grey than beige to it. So, throughout the day your south facing room will receive ample warmth, and Repose Grey and the cool undertones of Repose Grey can perfectly counteract and balance with the incoming light. This soothing grey paint color can appear quite warm and creamy in the bright afternoon and evening hours. Hence, the incoming warm and yellow light will counteract the cool undertones and make the neutral appear warm, calm and cozy. This color has an LRV of 58 and it has considerable depth, so the undertones don't wash off easily. In the late afternoon hours, this grey paint color will appear warmer than usual. Generally, the sneaky green-grey undertone will quite likely appear more taupish here. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Repose Grey color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now, the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Snowbound. Well, if you're looking to paint your south-facing room in an off-white or a white paint color, then Snowbound is definitely something to have an eye on. You must definitely avoid cream paint colors or off-white paint colors that have a dominant yellow undertone, because the incoming warm light can further enhance the yellow undertones and make your space feel overly warm and uncomfortable. And that is why Snowbound is one of my absolute go-to paint colors for the south-facing rooms. Well, Sherwin Williams Snowbound is a neutral to slightly cool tone white paint color with just a touch of grey and taupe undertone to it. Especially if you have a smaller south-facing room with little incoming natural light, this soft white paint color should work phenomenally. This is definitely not a frosty or icy cool white paint color, but rather has a touch of taupe to make it slightly warmer. Snowbound has an LRV of 83, which means that it can also brighten up the dull corners and make them appear lively and bright. Definitely one of the best white paint colors for a south-facing room. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Snowbound color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Origami White. Well, if Sherwin Williams Snowbound feels too bright and too light for your space, and if you're looking for a white paint color that has slightest touch of depth and is slightly darker, then Origami White can play a beautiful role. It's not a creamy or a warm white paint color, and at the same time it's not icy, frosty, cool white as well. It's definitely more on the neutral end of the scale. It has undertones. It can create a visual contrast with your super bright white ceilings or trims or baseboards, and at the same time it can play quite lively at all times. This is my absolute favorite white paint color for a south-facing room. The cool violet undertones can neutralize with the incoming warm light, creating a beautiful appeal on the walls. So if you're not fond of the brightness of Sherwin Williams Snowbound and are looking for an off-white paint color that is slightly darker, Origami White can make a beautiful appeal. It has an LRV of 76 and it can be used with pure white on the trims as well as the ceilings as well as the baseboards. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Origami White color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Drift of Mist. Sherwin Williams Drift of Mist is an airy, refreshing and inviting warm grey paint color that isn't too light or dark. So if you're looking for a non-white and yet a timeless look in your south-facing room, this neutral paint color should definitely be on the top of your list. With an LRV of 69, this light greyish paint color must be paired with pure white on the trims, moldings and ceilings, and it will look just so classic in the bright afternoon hours as well. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Drift of Mist color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Worldly Grey. Now if you're looking for a greyish paint color for your south-facing room, or let's say your south-facing room is large and receives ample incoming natural light all day long, then Worldly Grey is something to definitely experiment. It has a wink of green undertone which can subside, especially if you have ample incoming natural light. Especially for a well-lit south-facing room, if you're looking for a warmer tone color palette, this color will hold itself pretty well without washing off the undertones. With an LRV of 57, this paint color will look just so beautiful in every lighting condition. However, if you have a low incoming natural light south-facing room, then you must avoid this color since it can feel dull or even dingy. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams Worldly Grey color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams First Star. Now if you're really fond of the greys and if you want a cooler vibe in your south-facing rooms and you don't want to experiment with a warmer tone color palette or a warmer toned color in an overly heated south-facing room, then greys can be one of the best options, and First Star would be definitely my first choice. This is a clear and crisp, cool white paint color with a hint of grey undertone. It's remarkably fresh, jovial, and hence it can work well in a brightly lit south-facing room. So if you're not looking to resell your home and prefer a cooler grey paint color, this is definitely one of the best paint color choices. With an LRV of 69, this color can hold the grey undertone pretty well in the early as well as late evening hours. Even with warm incoming natural light, this grey paint color wouldn't look too frosty or icy. You can check out my latest pre-packaged Sherwin Williams First Star color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Upward. Now Sherwin Williams Upward is definitely a cool and icy blue-grey paint color which has a wink of periwinkle undertones or violet undertones. Now that we've had our hands on various neutrals, the beige, greys and greys for a south-facing room, it's time to discuss the blues. This is the periwinkle or the purple undertones in this paint color is what makes it so crisp and chilly. This color has an LRP of 57, which means that it definitely falls on the medium toned side, and it can hold itself pretty well in a brightly lit south-facing room as well. The warm incoming light will calm down the chilly effect of this paint color, hence making this hue just so refreshing, soft and calm. You can check out my latest prepackaged Sherwin Williams Upward color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the next color on my list is Sherwin Williams Rainwashed. Well, Sherwin Williams Rainwashed is a beautiful blue, green, grey blend paint color that can work wonderfully in your south-facing room, especially if you have a larger south-facing room with ample incoming natural light. This color will truly neutralize with the golden yellow incoming light and making your space feel cool, calm and refreshing. Especially for coastal homes, Rainwash is definitely a yes. This is a medium to light tone paint color with an LRV of 59. It's bound to appear slightly muted and calm in the early morning hours, and as the day passes, cheerful and lively. Definitely one of the best blue-green paint colors for a south-facing room. You can check out my latest prepackaged Sherwin Williams Rainwash color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. Now the last color on my list is Sherwin Williams Slate Tile. Now Sherwin Williams Slate Tile is a darker tone paint color on my list that you can definitely use in your south-facing room, especially if the room is awkwardly sized or if it's large with ample incoming light. You need a darker color to absorb the light and yet make the space feel cozy and confined. So Slate Tile is a cool blue-grey paint color with just a hint of green undertones. This slate blue color with muted undertones is bound to work wonderfully in a south-facing room. So if you're looking for a bold paint color for a south-facing room, this is definitely one of the best choices. With an LRV of 15, this color will work perfectly in a brightly lit south-facing room. It will counteract with the incoming warm light, hence showcasing more blue than grey. Even the cabinets and vanity in Sherwin Williams Slate Tile would work wonderfully. You can check out my latest prepackaged Sherwin Williams Slate Tile color palette for the whole house here on Etsy as well as my website. So, what are your thoughts on my list of top 10 Sherwin Williams paint colors for a south-facing room? All in all, you must remember to avoid very warm grays, warm khakis, warm tans, warm brown colors, warm white paint colors that have a yellow undertone in your south-facing room, because it can tend to appear overly uncomfortable and overly cozy. Especially if you reside in southern, warmer states, you must go with cooler tone paint colors. Else for the northern, colder states, you can add a warm white color but which does not have a very dominant yellow, red or orange undertone. So, did you like any of these above mentioned paint colors? Well, I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel as I'm coming up with these color related videos every Monday. I'll see you all next week. Bye.